If you're following a one-size-fits-all hashtag strategy that somebody online shared with you, chances are you're leaving growth on the table. My name is Mitchell, and over the last year, I went from knowing nothing about Instagram to putting up over 34,000 followers. I'm still learning, I'm still working every day. I'm in the trenches just like you guys, but I like to take the lessons that I've learned getting here and share what's really worked with you guys. Now, the unfortunate truth about hashtags is that there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all solution. A lot of influencers will try to do that. They'll try to tell you this is what works, but the reality is just because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. There's a variety of factors that can affect whether a hashtag strategy is going to translate or not. So instead of trying to give you a one-size-fits-all solution that may or may not work for you, I'm going to basically give you the logic behind hashtags and the different types of strategies that you can try. And I know that that sounds like a little bit of a cop-out, but in reality, it's not. The fact of the matter is, if you want to grow as fast as possible on Instagram in 2022, you're going to have to be a little bit of a social media scientist. You're going to have to test out different strategies, different little tweaks, and then compare and contrast to see which one is working better for my page. Now, without wasting any more of your time, there's ultimately two ways that hashtags can get you more reach and more followers. Now, the first one is through something called indexing, which is a little bit of a newer concept that probably not all of you know about. Indexing is basically the concept that Instagram's algorithm is getting more and more advanced over time, and they're constantly trying to connect individuals with the type of content that they're interested in. So in the past on Instagram, if you wanted to find a certain type of content, you'd basically have to search it out, right? Like if I'm really interested in basketball, I might have to go to hashtag NBA, hashtag LeBron James. I would have to go and search it to find what I'm interested in. What Instagram is trying to do though is get more adaptive in looking at the hashtags that you put on your post and then trying to categorize your content based on that to connect with people that are interested in that type of content. So by example, what Instagram is trying to do now is if they notice that, hey, Mitch looks at a lot of NBA content. He spends a lot of time viewing stuff about basketball or LeBron James, we'll say. And then you're over here posting hashtag LeBron James, hashtag NBA, hashtag Dwayne Wade, all these relevant hashtags. Instagram's advanced AI is going to start to look at your content and categorize it. Okay, this is NBA content with an emphasis on LeBron James. Oh, hey, Mitchell's into NBA and he likes LeBron James a lot. We're going to show this content to Mitchell. So indexing is basically a way that Instagram is using its AI to figure out, based on your hashtags, what kind of content you're producing, and then it's going to try to show it to the right audience. Now, this is a big deal because this marks a big difference in how Instagram is trying to serve content to its users. In the past, they were a little bit reactive. You had to go and search for the content you wanted. Maybe you'd search for the page name or for the hashtag. But now Instagram is trying to be proactive and connecting people with the kind of content that they already enjoy. In the past on Instagram, it used to be that you didn't want to use small hashtags really ever. It was kind of like, if this hashtag is tiny and there's not a lot of people going to that hashtag, why would I want to use it on my post? It's not going to help connect me to a bunch of new people. But with the direction that Instagram is starting to take, and with this smart AI, it's starting to look more and more like, hey, some of those hyper-specific hashtags that may not have a huge audience may actually be important for you, for Instagram to help index your content and help get you in front of the right audience. So to boil all of that down, it's kind of like Instagram is starting to intelligently analyze the hashtags on your posts. It's almost like Instagram is using hashtags a little bit more like Google would use keywords for search. And over time, as this gets more widely adopted on Instagram and used more effectively, that's going to drastically change the way that hashtags are used. Now, the second hashtag strategy that you can use to get your reach up and get more followers is ultimately going to be the classic hashtag ranking strategy. And this is the strategy that everybody's familiar with, where you're trying to get into the top section of a hashtag that you put on your post. And you're basically trying to capitalize off of an audience that's already clicking on that hashtag. And I do want to be clear, this still does work in 2022, even with everything we just talked about and the changes that are starting to take place. This is still a very viable strategy right now. In fact, if we look at the analytics of some of my posts, we can see that I'm getting thousands of impressions off of getting into the top sections of my hashtags. But the thing about this is, over time, it's getting harder and harder to show up on those top sections for hashtags. Ultimately, more and more people are starting to chase smaller hashtags because the top is getting so competitive because there's more and more big pages on Instagram. So as you can see, Instagram is simultaneously running two separate systems for how they use hashtags. And the complications don't stop there. When you actually dig into it, you've got all these different camps of people claiming that the number of hashtags you use also plays a role in how much reach you get out of those hashtags. You've got some people that claim using 0 hashtags gets them more reach. You've got some people that'll claim 1 to 5 hashtags is best, some that'll claim somewhere between 5 and 15 hashtags is best, and then some people that'll claim 20 plus hashtags is best. And the thing is, most of these guys are telling the truth. And it's because, like I said at the beginning of the video, there's no such thing as a hashtag strategy that's gonna work for everybody. Depending on the size of your page, depending on your niche, and depending on the timing, there might be a different strategy that works for each one of you. So then the question becomes, with all of these variables, how do we develop a hashtag strategy for you that actually works? A lot of you guys aren't gonna like this, but realistically, the only way for you to find your best hashtag strategy is gonna be through testing. But before I tell you to go ahead and just start testing stuff, let me give you some guidance. First of all, you want 90 to 95% of your hashtags to be hyper specific to your topic, to your niche, to what you cover. It's okay if you have a couple of hashtags that are a little bit generic in the mix, like hashtag trending or hashtag for you page. But at the end of the day, you want the vast majority of your hashtags to be hyper specific about what you cover. Now, once you identify a bunch of hashtags that are specific to your niche, to your topic, to what you cover, it's gonna become a game of trying to narrow things down and pick the hashtags that are the right size for your page and where you're at right now. And once again, there's no one size fits all solution to this. This is gonna be something that requires a little bit of testing. Now, if we're gonna get serious about building the best possible hashtag strategy for your page, there's gonna be two variables that you're gonna have to test on your own. And the first one that you're gonna have to test is the hashtag size that you're using on your posts. Now, what's a big hashtag for one topic might be a small hashtag for another. It's gonna fluctuate based on your niche, based on your topic, based on what you cover. But ultimately, what you wanna do is you wanna test by playing different ratios of big hashtags, mid-size hashtags, and small hashtags. So maybe for a month straight, you're gonna test, okay, 80% of my hashtags are gonna be big market cap hashtags with a lot of posts under them, 10% are gonna be medium sized, and 10% are gonna be small. The point is, you wanna get an array of different size hashtags and test those to see what works best with your niche, your topic, and your audience. Is it more the big hashtags? Is it more the middle size hashtags? Or is it more the smaller size hashtag? Because a lot of YouTubers will tell you, oh, go for this exact ratio, go for this exact mix. And while I do agree that you should go for a mix, what that mix looks like for you is gonna be a little bit different. Now, the second variable that you're gonna wanna test is the number of hashtags that you're using. Like we talked about before, I would recommend splitting this up into probably about 3 chunks. I would first start by doing 5 to 10 hashtags per post, and then do 15 to 20 hashtags per post, and then do 25 to 30 per post. I know it sounds like common sense that more hashtags is probably gonna get you more reach, but some people swear by the fact that using fewer hashtags that are more specific, that gets them more reach. So if you seriously wanna find what works best for you, the only way that you're gonna do that is by testing. And if you wanna test no hashtags, feel free to do that. But I'll just be honest with you, in every page I've run, doing no hashtags gets me less reach than doing hashtags, which to me just feels like a common sense thing. But if you wanna try posting a reel with no hashtags to see if it gets you more views, go for it. But in my experience, that's not the case. Now, I know I just loaded you up with probably 2 to 3 months worth of work in testing, but here's how I recommend you get started. I recommend your first variable that you test is the different size of hashtags. Make sure, once again, that they're all hyper specific to your brand, to your topic, to what you're covering. But try out the big hashtags first, then the mid-size hashtags, and then the smaller hashtags. And what I recommend you do when you're first starting is do 25 to 30 hashtags on all of those posts until you figure out which size of hashtag is working the best for you. Once you figure out the size that works for you, then go around and start tweaking the number of hashtags that you're using. Again, I know that this sounds complicated. If you guys have any questions, just drop them down in the comments. I am here to help you. But I want to make sure that everybody gets the best possible hashtag strategy that works for their page.